carried enough. It's time to set it down. Join us for the Wear Wellness Promotion 26, presented by Women's Educational and Healing Retreats, Inc., a day of healing, hope, and community. Discover wellness resources, connect with local vendors, and find encouragement on your journey toward peace and restoration. March 28th at Windcrest United Methodist Church in Windcrest. Learn more and register today at wellnesscentersa.com.
She's here. She's here. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're viewing from. I'm Laura Thompson with TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with a global reach. And you're tuned into the coffee break. And guess who dropped by to have some virtual coffee with me this morning? Miss Alicia Sebastian. She's the president of the SAISD School Board Trustee. And so thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
Glad to finally be here.
I know it. I've been waiting
It's
for
been a while.
Right. She said, I'm gonna make it. So she finally did.
I'm here.
So before we get started with the interview, could you just give us a little background information on you, like who you are, what you do, why you do it, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. So my name's Alicia Sebastian, as mentioned. I currently serve as the board president for SAISD Board of Trustees, where I've been serving for the last 7 years. I'm in my 7th year.
Wow.
I actually became the board chair last year in July. So that's exciting. It hasn't been a year yet, but it's been definitely feel like eternity, right? But I'm originally from New Orleans. I've been here in San Antonio for almost 21 years now.
Really? Wow.
I know, it's been a long time. Just raised by a single grandmother. Education was always the focal point in our family. My father was military, so we did a lot of moving around when I was young, but finally settled in New Orleans, which is my mom's hometown. And, you know, I didn't realize the importance of education, I would say, until I graduated, went to college, did not do well. Right. And, you know, all my formal years of education, I was told I was smart, I was doing well, I was actually skipped. But when it was time for me to go to college, I was not prepared, right?
Yeah, that's a different.
It was a whole
world.
different world, right? And so when I started to have kids of my own, I was just like, I could not have them succumb to the same issues. I need them to be prepared for college or for whatever they wanted on the other side, right? And wound up moving to San Antonio when my oldest was going to first grade.
Oh, wow.
So, and I have been an advocate. I think that's where it started, just making sure that when we came to a new space, he was at a good school, he had good friends, we were in a good community, all those good things. And so I've always been active in my kids' education, and I wound up having 3 more after that. So I definitely was just kind of stuck into that. But I think that is where that seed initially started for my passion for being an active participant and voice in my children's education. It's what wound me up where I am today.
Wow, so that's phenomenal. So I remember when you were campaigning, I came up to the club, Black Center to Vote, and you were up there campaigning, and I was like, wow, Alicia's running for the school board for District 2. And I said, okay.
Yep.
And I don't think I was living in the district, but I told other people that you were running. And so what made you decide to run for school board? So
I moved to the east side, I want to say back in 14, somewhere around in there. And I honestly, when I first moved there, I started working in nonprofit, right?
Okay.
Worked at San Antonio Fighting Back for a while.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I worked with San Antonio Fighting Back on the Drug Free Communities Grant.
Wow.
Which really made me want to get more involved in the community, right? Love the east side because that's where the black folks was at. Now, you know, when I first moved here, I was like, where are the black people? Because I was on the northeast side. I was on the north side. I was like, where are the black people? So when I moved to the east side, I was like, okay, you know, this is home. I wanted my kids to have that experience. So I wanted them to have a black experience growing up in community with other kids doing well and seeing themselves, right? Because they weren't. And then so once I started with nonprofit, got them in schools. I was not, just to be completely honest, and I tell people all the time, as a school board member, we don't work for the school board. Many people run for the school board because they're unhappy of the conditions of the school, and I was very unhappy.
Wow.
The schools that my kids had to go to in the neighborhoods, they weren't faring well. They weren't the best kept. When I walked into their buildings and saw the conditions versus the conditions on the north side, I'm like, what's happening over here? It just seemed to me that there was intentionality about these kids not having the same resources, and that bothered me. And so I became active in the schools again, took it to another level, started doing PTA work on the PTO. But prior to that, which I know you probably remember, I was a hairstylist for many, many years. And so even before I moved to the East Side, I wanted to give back to cosmetology. So I found cosmetology program over at Sam Houston High School. And I would go and I would mentor with the kids. This was when Miss Leslie Copeland was running the cosmetology program. And so I would help them put on hair shows. And so that was my first exposure in the school, just with the students, aside from my own kids. And so I had established relationships there. And when I moved over here, it just really strengthened, right? And I started to be there all the time because my kids were there. And so I saw a need when my predecessor, he left the board. He wound up saying that he wasn't going to serve after, I think, over 25 years. Or more, almost 30. Right. He wasn't going to run again. And I looked at, of course, I didn't at the time know what school board was. I thought, again, it was just an extension of me being able to fuss and advocate for the kids and why they don't have the books and, all the good things. I have no idea. It was really about governance, right? But, I actually spoke to Mr. Howard when I decided, and I asked him, what did it entail? And, of course, he was like, girl, you crazy? Why you want to do this, right? But he talked to me a little bit about the importance of it and what he saw that we needed, which was representation in our schools. And because I still had school-age children, I think a lot of people saw that that's what they needed, somebody who was still connected to the daily workings of the schools. And so I just kind of put my name in the hat. I'm going to be honest with you, I was disappointed because I watched the seat sit vacant for probably about 3 weeks. Nobody wanted to run for school board.
Wow.
Nobody. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll do it, right? And then after that, of course, 2 other people maybe jumped in. But, I just thought that it was such a valuable seat because we need to have somebody at the table, or people just make decisions for us. Right. And so that's what happened. I saw it, I jumped in, had no clue, and I'm still here 7 years later.
Wow. So you've been here for 7 years
on the board.
And so what are some of the things that you've seen what did you see when you first got in there opposed to what is happening now?
Goodness, I mean, it seems like a world away, right? Because when I started in 2019, that was right before COVID.
Wow.
So we had, during that time, we had a superintendent transition, which was a first, right? Like, I was just really, I would say for the first year what I did, and this is what I typically do, I'm this type of person, I learned the role before I just try to jump in and, do all kind of things. I need to figure out, like, really what is the power of a school board member. And people don't understand, we only have 3 responsibilities, right, as a school board member. 1 is to hire and fire the superintendent. 2 is to create policies or to, change some policies. And the 3 is to create the budget. We're responsible for the budget and ensuring that, depending on what your focus is in the school board, ours is ensuring that it's equitable and making sure that we're using money equitably amongst the resources for children. So I had to learn, but there were so many things that took us outside of that work. Like I said, you had COVID, right? So we were out for a very long time. Then you had lot of other transitions that were happening. So it felt like school board business always kind of took a backseat to the issues of the climate of the society, the things that we were dealing with. So I would say since then now we've kind of tapered off, but we've been able to uncover a lot of issues, right? We know that there was a lot of learning loss because of COVID, so we came back and kids were 3 years behind. Some of them were already behind. We came back to decline in enrollment. People just weren't sending their kids to school anymore, right? Wow. People aren't having babies anymore. That's a whole nother thing. So, and I'm sure you're going to ask me about like right size and school closures. All those factors kind of feed into where we see ourselves today as a school school system across the country, not just here in San Antonio.
Wow. So the hot topics right now are vouchers and school closures.
Yeah.
How are they connected? And what are your thoughts about the voucher program?
We're in Texas, right? So that's my thoughts first and foremost, right? And I won't say it's just a Texas thing, but I do feel that here we have a lot of other competing factors that are kind of attacking public education as we know it, right? School closures for us back in 2022, we hired a demographer to do an analysis to figure out like where the students are. Are they going to come back? Because to be honest with you, enrollment declines has been happening for decades, but people haven't been tracking data, I guess, as much as we started to post-COVID. Like, where are the kids? We know we need them back. So again, that's when we really started to put a heightened focus on what's going on. Not only we didn't know where they weren't doing well either. So we know we need to figure out, how to fill that gap. So that's where the conversation kind of first started with school consolidation, school closures. We need to assess the climate. So a few of our board members went to some other cities that had to do this, right? And we learned from those communities, same thing. People, especially in the urban core. So SAISD is the oldest school district, as you know, in San Antonio. But we're also situated in the urban core where there's been tons of gentrification, tons of outpricing people. People who are from the east side, typically, you would want your family to move back, but they can't. They're not going to buy a house that's $300,000 on a small piece of land, right? Where they can go out to Converse or somewhere else and get, and then also, just the schools weren't doing it. People with families consider all that before they move places. So we don't have those huge families in those areas anymore like we used to. People aren't having kids. So we need to look at the conditions of our buildings too. Again, we're the oldest school district. These buildings are 100 years old.
Yeah, they are.
So it's almost like just imagine having a house that's that old, and you just at some point you're just throwing money at it because you really can't repair it. Like you're saying, concrete, like the specs, the things that they use to build this stuff, it don't even exist anymore.
Right.
So that was
it's not
an
even
issue.
safe.
No, and it's not safe. That's a whole other thing, right?
Wow.
So, you have all those factors. And so we had the conversation. I tell people often this conversation didn't start just with us. It happened years, decades ago. But who wanted to be the school board to close schools?
Right.
That's not an easy decision to make, right? Who wanted to? That's like political suicide. But we did, we made sure that the decisions were data informed. We did a lot of community engagement because we learned from other places. Some people were just like, we're going to close it and y'all just going to have to deal with it, right? The board was just like, this is what we need to do. But we really did engage. We had over 100 sessions where we went out to communities and we got feedback. We also told them, hey, everybody's not going to get what they want, right? This is not typically, I didn't think as a school board member within my first 2 years, we'd be talking about closing 10 schools.
Wow.
But that was just the reality that we found ourselves in. The vouchers now, that kind of came after. And right now we're kind of assessing since it's new. We don't know how many families are going to try to access vouchers. We don't know. It's just one of those things where we have to figure out. But we have other issues in terms of new policy with immigration. We also we've seen a loss of students there as well.
That's crazy. So I hear a lot of conversation about like school closure and buildings and all of those things. But as far as curriculum, like public schools have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And so the curriculum and the requirements, educational requirements to move to the next level for students hasn't changed a lot. And so how do you, and I know that, and I don't know the school districts or locally, you might not necessarily have the authority to change the curriculum.
Right.
So how do you feel like the old school curriculum and the new technology world? How do you think that's affecting education, and do you feel like students get discouraged? because they live in the tech world, but the schools are, all of the schools.
Yeah.
Some of them are specialty schools, but all of them are not like upgraded. The curriculum is still the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a loaded question because you got a lot there, right? It's in terms of the curriculum. We have state accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, here, if you want to be able to demonstrate that your kids are learning, it is how well they're performing on the STAR test. And we have mixed feelings about that. Even myself serving, I think it's a disadvantage to put such a high emphasis just on one test, and it really depends on. I think it's kind of driven by leadership in terms of what they're going to put the focus on. So here in San Antonio, ISD, we have mixed models of schools. We have a lot of regular ISD neighborhood schools, but then we also have partnerships with innovative partners, right? And so we have like ALA, Advanced Learning Academy. We have Young Men's Leadership Academy, Young Women's Leadership Academy. Now, they all have to pass the test, right? They still have to prepare kids to be able to pass. However, delivery models with anything else is always going to be specific to the school or the campus itself, right? And so what we know is good teachers can teach regardless, right? And I think that's a concern of a lot of people, just the state of educators. Like, some people don't even want to teach anymore. So I think for us, we understood in order for us to kind of get a better pulse on what was happening in the classroom with our kids, we deployed a universal curriculum across the district. Because what it was looking like before was you would go to one school in 6th grade and they're learning one thing. Then you go to another school and they're learning something totally different. There was no synchronicity across the district. And for me as a parent, especially when I have so many kids in school, I want to know that, I can kind of plug in and my kids should be on the same level as other 6th, 7th grade, whatever the case may be. So I think that in terms of the curriculum, everything is now online. So of course kids are now able to access it that way because that's their new world. But honestly, I mean, we're behind. I mean, we are so behind. This tech era has taken off so quickly to where everybody's trying to play catch up, and the districts are certainly not immune to that.
And the kids are ahead of the adults that are teaching.
Yes.
Because that's all they do all day and night.
Yeah. And I would say COVID was helpful in some regards because at least it allowed us to get computers in front of kids. Right? Because before that, you were still trying to make them do things the old way, and that's not their reality. And so because we were able to get computers and start doing virtual learning and putting tests on computers where they're used to, we did see a difference in just how to re-engage and connect with them that way.
Wow. So let's talk about the schools. I know you said in 22.
22, we started the conversation.
All right. And then you closed some schools.
We did.
Already. So have you closed more schools since then, or?
Yeah. So when we voted to do the school closure 2023, we closed 15 schools. However, it only impacted 10 buildings. Because closures weren't just about closing. It was about either you need to consolidate because, like I said, a lot of it was driven on enrollment. You had schools that were built to serve 1,000 students that actually only had 250. Right? So you think about how much you throw. It's waste. Exactly. You think about, you still have to keep the lights on the whole building. You still have to, run the HVAC system. And, we had issues with that too because of old units. So a lot of what happened with closures was not just about the building. It was about how do we strategically resize, and that's why we called it right size. And how do we refit for this new reality that we were in? The kids aren't coming back. We don't see it. I will say that the data is not showing that we're going to have a huge influx of kids coming back at any point. So that was a part. But over on the east side, I'll give you an example of kind of how I say we closed 15, but it only impacted 10 schools. For instance, Gates was a school that was closed. MLK actually is getting a brand new school. So what happened was all of the kids from MLK are now at Gates until MLK is complete, and it's going to be a high-tech, state-of-the-art school, right, that we finally need here on the east side on MLK. And then once that school is complete, they'll move back there, and then Gates will close.
Wow.
Miller was another one that we closed. However, Smith was a school, very aging school, a lot of issues. So they are actually going to move to Miller because Miller didn't have the actual enrollment. Because a lot of those schools, too, if you think about it, they were built inside of neighborhoods. And those neighborhoods aren't thriving anymore. Right. So Smith decided to go to Miller, which was a newer school, in lieu of them, having to close or whatever the case may be.
Wow.
So that's what happened in some instances across the district.
Wow. So you've got some like Highlands High School, my alma mater.
Your alma mater.
Go Owls.
Yes.
So that's a whole new school.
It is
out there.
Yeah,
it's
a new school.
Like the I took a tour of the school in the band area. It's like they have these individual booths for kids to practice.
It's nice.
When we were out there, the band room was about this size.
A little tiny box. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And it wasn't really emphasized.
Right.
It's like you could take band or whatever because it's it's an elective.
Exactly.
And it was just to have something to do.
Right, for the kids to do.
Check off the list. But now, fine arts is really a big thing.
Yeah, it keeps a lot of kids in school.
Yeah. So I was excited about that. So what other schools have y'all upgraded?
Oh, yeah.
Like that?
Oh, well, all of the comprehensive high schools pretty much have been touched in some way. So Sam Houston is still being worked on, expanded. I think the black box is almost finished. The next thing that we're working on, guys, we are getting to that field.
Right.
That field is, I'm just going to be honest with you. I remember I went to a football game back there last year, and somebody said, we on the same bleachers that we had when I was in school in 1979. I said, now, that's making my heart hurt because I was sitting there. But
embarrassed.
That is a part. But the thing is, too, we had bonds that came 2016, 2020. So you had so much work across the district. It just takes time for that stuff to roll out. But Burbank did get redone.
Wow.
Sam Houston, Davis has still got some work coming on the east side. It's several of our campuses that are right now getting bond work.
Wow. And people don't understand you vote for the bond in 1 year, but it takes up to 7 years.
If not longer.
To do those projects.
Especially depending on the condition of the school, right? And also, what do you do with those kids? You got to swing them, or you got those things. People don't really think about that are part of the planning.
Right. And it's, there's a constant complaint about, upgrading the schools, but in order to upgrade the schools, you got to, like you said, they have to go somewhere else.
They have to, yeah.
Some things are not worth investing the money in.
Exactly.
And so it's crazy.
And that's the thing that we found. We've heard people say, when you talk about waste, like, who was making those decisions? And I think at some point, people have to realize that we're also going to talk about the state, right? The allocations that we get per pupil is laughable. It's not enough. And they also don't give us money for deferred maintenance, right, for buildings, which other states do.
Right.
That way, we're not taking money that's allocated for education to fix buildings. And that's what we've been tasked with. It's either you strengthen the curriculum, you make sure you get the best qualified teachers in this classroom, or you spend money constantly on aging buildings. That's the decision. And who wants to say, oh, well, let's fix the building, make the building pretty, and let the kids suffer?
Right.
You know what I mean? That makes no sense. Right. But that's pretty much the hand we've been dealt.
But if you don't get the buildings fixed,
we have all these HVAC issues that happens at the beginning of the school. They suffer in some other way. So it's, 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other, like my grandmother used to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know I mentioned the vouchers, but how do you think that vouchers are going to affect public schools and enrollment and all of that?
I mean, I would say this, and everybody who knows me understands that although I serve on the public ISD, I am an advocate for education, period. And I believe in parent choice. I was a parent who chose different schools for my children because I understood that they learn differently. So if that meant they needed to go to a specialized school and not the neighborhood school, I was that parent that did that. So I won't say anything negative about ensuring that parents have choice. I think that you have to empower parents, right? So I do believe that the vouchers came from a place of good intent in some ways. However, the impact is really, we won't be able to see it until
down the road,
until the parents make those decisions to say, hey, am I going to use this money? Am I going to allow this money to still flow through the system that I believe that can do right by my students? Or am I going to have to go through the process of, applying for vouchers, finding places that take them, go through that? Like, it's a whole thing. And we don't know yet.
And we're in transitional times and transformational times, and the outside world has changed a lot, and it's going at this rapid speed, and our educational system is not keeping up with that right now. And it's I hear a lot of people talk about public schools. I know you represent a public school, but they talk about public schools. And, we grew up in public schools, blah, blah, blah. But times are changing, too. And so public schools, the way y'all do business, it has to change.
It has to. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're in I've said this more frequently recently that this is probably one of the biggest education transformations since the inception, right? Because we've never had institution. It's always been delivered the same way. Everybody had to access it the same way. Unless you went to a private school, right? There was no charters when we were in school, right? You either went to a Catholic school or you went to the regular schools. So now we're in a whole different society where, again, parents have choice, which I do believe that is important. But it's almost like technology era. You have so many choices. It become overwhelming. How do you choose? You see a lot of parents going from the public schools into charters back to the public, like bouncing around. And to me, that could be harmful to students too. So, my advice is just really research like with anything else. Research what's best for your kid. I had tons of kids. They were all different. Right? Although I would have wanted to keep them together, I had the opportunity to get them in places where they would be able to, do well. But that's what we got. And it's going to continue. It's not going to change. It's never going back.
Right. And one size just does not fit all. It doesn't. A lot of kids, they have a lot of programs for kids that, and I don't like to give kids labels, but they're labeled as special needs.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just think that they have different learning styles.
Absolutely.
Like you said.
Absolutely.
And if you could tap into that, we could be, successful and be higher up on the education chart globally.
Yeah.
So, wow. So this has been a great, great, great conversation.
Thank you.
So what's next, and what's new?
Yeah. Well, for SAISD, our superintendent made the announcement last week that he is retiring after 40 years. So we'll be.
Wow, he doesn't even look like.
I know, right? He's been in since he was 5 years old. I told him, goodness grief. But for 40 years of public education,
really? Wow.
And he has openly said that in all of his years, and he's only been with us for 4 years. And two things that he said is very interesting. Although he's been a superintendent with us for 4 years, he's like one of the most tenured superintendents that we're finding right now. Because superintendents, they're how long they're staying around is about 2.5 years.
Really?
Because the work is so hard. It's and he said that this is by far the hardest challenging time that he's ever seen in public education.
Wow.
So that's new for us. We're going to be looking for a new leader. But our mission, we work very hard as a board to clearly identify who we are. And that is a board that is in an urban district, is serving a lot of low income families, but they're still brilliant, right? And they're still worth every last effort that we give, and we honor our families and treat them like our own families, right? And so I think we built a culture of excellence in a place where people don't expect it, because especially we come from a place where people just push kids through, and no, we believe that they can learn just as well as anybody else.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we find ourselves. We find ourselves continuing to upgrade buildings, right? Figure out how to stay abreast of all the changes while we're doing new leadership, and making sure that we're still pushing kids out to be the great leaders of the future that we need them to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I don't know anybody, a kid or adult, that doesn't want to be successful.
Exactly.
They want to be
Exactly.
successful.
Exactly.
But we have to give them the opportunity to be successful.
And they have to know somebody really cares about their success.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
That's what it's about. I think a lot of times, especially in my role, that's why I take opportunities to come and speak and tell my story about being a parent, and even myself having my own struggles in school. People have to see people who look like them and still believe in them and say, you know what, I know what you got going on. That's right. I know it's hard, but you can do it. We believe in you, and our district feels the way about our babies.
Right. Well, I love it. I think that, what you all are doing is great.
Thank you.
Although it can be a little controversial.
Oh, yeah.
And adversarial, only because people don't have all of the information, and they're not really looking at the future necessarily. They're looking at what they know
They're used to.
and understand, and what they've experienced, and the experience is totally different now.
And we're all learning.
Right.
It's a new world for all of us.
Yes,
So, people fuss at me, what y'all doing over there? And, I take it. It's hard. Change is hard. But
absolutely.
as long as people understand that they are part of this conversation, this is their community that's being impacted. We're not trying to make decisions for people. We want to make decisions with people.
Right.
So.
And we fight every change. It's not just
That's
education.
right.
We fight, the fact that, we're using an iPad to film stuff.
To do everything.
Like, to do everything,
Right.
And apps.
Right.
People fought that.
Yeah.
They said, that ain't going to work. Everything that we do is if we want to move forward and progress, we got to make some changes.
That's right.
And so, I think that, you're doing a great, great job. We're proud
Thank you.
of you being the president of the
Thank you.
board and
Thank
leading the efforts, and being able to articulate to, the community,
Yeah.
what's important,
Right.
and that you're doing it for the kids. And, all of us just have to work as a community to
That's
make
it.
adjustments.
That's it.
And
That's
so,
it. I hope to be here a long time, right?
Right.
I love what I do. I love this community. I love the growth, the potential growth that I see, right? And I just think that if we continue to have these conversations, I think people get anxious when they just don't know what's happening,
I know,
right?
right?
And so I
And
want to
they-
get out there in my capacity and share the little bit that I've learned since I've been here and what we're trying to do.
And they make up stories and say, "Oh, they ain't doing nothing," but
Oh, Lord,
until they
they
see
only do.
until they see the building built, and they was like, "Oh my God!"
Oh, they've been doing something. Oh, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
It's okay.
this has been a great, great, great informative conversation. I wish San Antonio Independent School District well.
Thank you.
I'm a product of it,
Yes, you are.
but
Mm-hmm.
I understand that progress is necessary.
That's
I
right.
mean, even when I was in elementary school and middle school and high school, those concrete buildings and the stoves that you could burn yourself on that they heated, it was outdated then.
Yeah.
When we were kids. And so, just imagine what, and kids thrive in a positive environment.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
I think it's great And we want to have you back on.
I would love to. Absolutely.
When you have time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to keep you updated on all the progresses because I mean every year it's like it's something else. So I will definitely be here to share.
All right. Well, you've been tuned into the Coffee Break on TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with the global reach, and we've been here with the phenomenal, incomparable Alicia Sebastian. She is the first African American female board chair or board president for San Antonio Independent School District, and we're fortunate to have her in that position. So thank you for hanging out.
Thank you.
A little bit.
Bye. Have.
Hello, family and friends. I'm Lakeisha D. Howard, and I am running as an independent candidate for the Texas House District 124. I am a servant leader in our community who believes in the voices being heard. I am a retired Air Force veteran, as well as a retiree from the Department of Veteran Affairs. For me, this is not about politics and party. This is about our community voice being heard. We can only do that as one. And that's why I have elected to run as an independent versus being tied to a particular party. I am tied to our community, each and every one of you. I want to show transparency and accountability. I want our voices to be heard at our state capitol. I want us to show love and action because that's what brings community together. So vote for me in November 2026 as your independent state representative for District 124. I'm Lakeisha Howard. I love each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to hear your voice.